Year 1348. You are alive. But death has already entered your house. The bells start ringing in the middle of the night. This is not the usual call to morning prayer. It's a dragging beat. The intervals are too long. A sound that doesn't ask for faith. It announces absence. You wake up with the feeling that something has changed while you were sleeping. The air is heavier. Not just cold, heavy, as if it had been breathed too many times by distressed lungs. Someone is moving beside him. A restless movement, a muffled groan. You don't know it yet, but this will be the last night your house feels like yours. You live in London, a city that's growing faster than it should. The ancient city walls can no longer contain so many people. Wooden houses stand one on top of the other, leaning, almost touching, on streets so narrow that the sky appears as a distant, grey band. During the day, the market teems with life. Fish, freshly arrived from the Thames. Meat, hanging on hooks. Grains, fabrics from across the sea. Ships dock, laden with spices, wool, and wine. The city thrives on commerce. But something changed a few weeks ago. First came stories from the ports, then whispers in the taverns. Now, the bells speak louder than any rumor, and you start to realize that London is no longer breathing easily. You lean over the figure lying on the straw bed. The skin is too hot. The sweat has a sour, unusual smell. Breathing is shallow, as if each breath were an invisible battle. You touch your forehead, burn. Outside, the distant sound of a cart passing by in the early morning. Heavy wheels, you don't want to imagine what she's carrying. A louder groan interrupts your thoughts. You help yourself sit up. Your body feels heavier than it should, as if it's being pulled down by something you can't see. Then you notice, below the jaw, near the neck, swelling, still too young, but firm. You play carefully. The person trembles in pain, and at that moment, the bell rings again. One single touch. Grave, you go out to seek help. Maybe the priest, maybe the apothecary, maybe anyone who knows what to do. But the street is no longer the same. The windows are closed, some boarded up with makeshift planks. The smell of burning herbs fills the arrows, Marie, sage, anything that promises to ward off the unseen. You see a man running across the street, his face covered with a cloth soaked in vinegar. He doesn't look at you. Nobody looks at anybody. On the corner, two women whisper. When you approach, they move away as if your shadow were contagious. And you begin to understand, they know. They recognize the signs, and now, perhaps they will recognize it in you. You enter the church, it's full. Men kneeling, women crying, children clinging to their mothers' skirts. The air inside is thick with incense and fear. The priest speaks of trials, of purification, of accumulated sins. You try to believe, but then someone faints in the middle of the spaceship. A body that falls without warning. The murmur turns into contained panic. Nobody wants to be the first to touch it. Two men finally drag him outside. For a brief second, you see the blotchy skin on her arms. Dark, irregular, as if the flesh itself were giving up. The bell rings again, this time closer. When you return home, the door is ajar. Are you sure you closed it? His heart races. You push slowly. Inside, the silence is too profound. The person you left in bed is now on the floor, leaning against the wall. Their eyes are open, but unfocused. Their breathing is weak, and the swelling, it grew. The skin around it is darkening. There is another, smaller one, appearing in the armpit. You feel your stomach churn. It's not just an illness, it's something that's moving forward, fast, ruthless. She holds his hand, and you realize that your own fingers are too cold. Days become jumbled together. Or maybe there are only two. It doesn't matter. The market is almost empty now. Fish rot without buyers. Hanging meat attracts flies, but no customers. Horse-drawn carts roam the streets at dusk. No ads, without ceremony. Just collecting. You watch through the crack in the window as two men cover a body with rough cloth. There is no family present. There is no long prayer. The time for goodbyes is over. People started locking themselves in. Some flee to the countryside. Others isolate themselves inside their homes. But you start to realize that it doesn't matter where they run to. The bells reach everyone. You wake up with a strange pain on the neck, exactly where his fingers had touched days before. You try to ignore it. Perhaps it's my imagination. Perhaps it's just tiredness. But when you press on the skin, you can feel it. A small volume, solid, sore. Your stomach drops. You say nothing. Not yet, because admitting something is making it real. And as the bells ring out once more through the city, you realize that the sound no longer comes only from outside. It seems to vibrate inside his own body. Her breathing becomes shallower. Each breath is followed by a silence that is far too long. You hold the hand that no longer squeezes back. The candle burns almost to the end. Outside, there are no more screams. There are no tavern brawls. There are no hammers in the forges. Just the wind blowing through streets that were once full of life. And then, in the middle of the night, breathing stops. There is no grand gesture. There is no final word. Just a silence that fills every corner of the house. You remain seated, without crying, because something inside you already knows that you won't have time to grieve. A sharp pain shoots up his neck. The swelling is now impossible to ignore. The heat begins to spread. And for the first time, you fully understand you are alive. But that no longer means security. Dawn arrives, shrouded in mist. The Thames seems quieter. Some ships remain anchored, as if waiting for orders that will never come. You open the door. The street is almost deserted. A neighboring house was marked with a rudimentary symbol carved into the wood. A warning, a forced isolation. The bells are ringing again, but now they sound more spaced out, because there are fewer people to listen to them. You take a step outside. The legs are wobbly. The world seems to be tilting slightly. You rest your hand on the cold wall of the house and feel the damp stone beneath your fingers. The same type of stone that built walls. The same type that should be protecting, but it doesn't protect. Nothing protects. Not the gold, not faith, not the walls. The city that never slept is now learning the meaning of silence, and you. You can feel the heat rising. My vision is blurry. The bells continue to ring, not as a warning, not as a threat, but as a count. House by house, body to body, breath by breath, and as the deep sound echoes through London in 1348, you understand the truth that no one dares to say aloud. Death is no longer at the door. She's already inside, seated at her desk, lying in her bed, breathing the same air as you. And when the bell rings again, perhaps there will be no one left to listen.